Happy Hobbit Day. It's the first day of fall, and there's no better way to celebrate the changing of the seasons than by reading a Tolkien short story. Specifically, Smith of Wooton Major. This is one of Tolkien's more obscure stories. I read it recently because I had heard that it was about something called the Great Cake. And since I make it my business to know about all of the sweet treats in Tolkien's stories, I had to learn about this Great Cake. And furthermore, I had to try to bake one for myself. So, what is the Great Cake? In the village of Wooton Major, there is a festival every 24 years, the Feast of the Good Children, to which 24 children are invited. At this feast, the master cook is tasked with baking the Great Cake. Now, each Great Cake should have something novel and surprising about it, and not be a mere repetition of the one before. It is rich and sweet, and vague spices are mentioned multiple times in the story. So I decided to make a large ginger cake with caramel and chopped pecans between the layers and covered in dulce de leche buttercream. I wanted to make a cake that tasted like fall. I began this process by attempting to make homemade crystallized ginger. I walked away from the stove for a moment too long during this process, and disaster struck. I promise, I'm a better cook than this YouTube channel makes me seem. I try a lot of things for the first time on this channel, so all of my failures end up being on full display. And this failure in particular was a major momentum killer. So I decided to skip the crystallized ginger altogether and carry on with mixing the cake batter together.
Is it recording?
Yes.
Oh, hello.
But before that, I always like to prepare my cake pans first. Butter and flour, and line the bottom with a piece of baking parchment. So in my dry ingredient bowl, I put flour, baking powder, ground ginger, and cinnamon. I actually ran out of ground ginger halfway through the process, so I supplemented with pumpkin spice, like a pumpkin spice blend. On the stove, I melted together butter, brown sugar, and molasses. I beat the melted sugar and butter mixture into the dry ingredients. I warmed the milk slightly in the microwave and added baking soda to it. Then I mixed that into the batter, and I added the eggs one at a time. I did my best to evenly distribute the batter amongst the 4 cake tins, and then into the oven. These took longer than I'd expected to finish baking. I'm adjusting to cooking at a higher elevation than I'm used to, and things really do take longer than recipes will say at high elevation. One of my cakes caved in a little at the center, but that's why they invented icing, so nobody has to know. The next day, I began by making the caramel, which was more challenging than I'd expected. On my first attempt, I didn't let the sugar get hot enough, and I added the heavy cream too early in the process. On the second attempt, I used a better, more consistent heat source, and I waited for the sugar to turn a dark amber color before adding the heavy cream. This was almost a fail, but I kept whisking, and thankfully, it turned out all right in the end. And once it had cooled, it was a pretty good consistency. I quickly whipped up the buttercream. It was super simple. So I took a can of sweetened condensed milk and put the whole can into a boiling pot of water. I let it boil for a couple hours, and this cooks the sweetened condensed milk, turning it into dulce de leche. I beat some butter until it became very fluffy and added the dulce de leche to that. Very simple, very smooth, and not too sweet. Then came the fun part, assembling the cake. I put buttercream and caramel and pecans in between each layer of ginger cake, and I covered the whole thing in the rest of the buttercream. For decoration, I wanted to incorporate some sort of star symbol into the cake, because in the Tolkien short story, the master cook mixes a tarnished metal star into the cake batter. But when the children eat the great cake at the feast, none of the children find the star in their piece of cake. This is because one child, the blacksmith's son, has unknowingly eaten the star. So I wanted to incorporate an edible star into the cake somehow. I tried and failed to make one out of chocolate. Tempering chocolate is another one of those skills that I have not practiced enough. So I decided to make a star out of pecans on the top of the cake. And like the master cook does at the start of the story, I too put a fairy queen on my cake. Before we get to taste testing the cake, I need to tell you a little bit more about the blacksmith's son who unknowingly ate the star. On his 10th birthday, he coughs up the star, and it sticks itself to his forehead. This gives the boy permission to journey into the world of Faerie without harm. It's like a sort of passport into the fairy world. As the boy grows into a man, he makes many journeys into this land. Each time he explores more and more. He even meets the queen of Faerie herself. But when he becomes an old man, and the next feast of the good children comes around, he is asked to give up the star so that it may be passed on to the next boy to explore the world of Faerie. And so he does. It is a gift willingly given, but unknowingly received. And with that in mind, let us taste the great cake. This one.
Oh, no, never.
Yeah.
No, you need a
It's
long.
stubby.
You need the bread knife like a cake
No,
knife.
get a real knife. A knife for a angry hobbit.
We have all those knives.
Yes!
It's a tick boy. Okay.
The crust.
Yeah.
I'm going back for more.
It's really good. It could have used a lot more ginger, I think.
I taste a lot of butter coming through.
Yeah, the icing is like mainly butter, which is good.
You know what? For most people, they would love the fact that it's not overly sweet. It's plenty sweet, but it's not overly sweet.
Yeah.
And I also like the nuts. It's a great addition. Is the nuts. You know, the frosting is really special, I think. I think of all the things in this cake that you could talk about, it's actually the frosting. It's light, it's buttery, it's flavorful, but
But also not too sweet. Yeah.
not too sweet. It's really good.
Yep.
I like it.
Good. And you can eat all of it. If you too like seeing fantasy foods brought to life, please consider subscribing to the channel and give this video a like. Wishing you a happy Hobbit day.